In 1992, when arcades ruled the weekends, two game designers by the name of Ed Boon and John Tobias made a fighting game that not only changed the way we look at fighting games, but changed video games as we know it, and that was the birth of Mortal Kombat.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. And if you guys have seen this intro, then you guys definitely know what this is going to be about. This is talking about one of my favorite fighting game series of all time, the Mortal Kombat series, and my memories that follow. My earliest memory of Mortal Kombat was actually in the arcades. I've talked about this in some other videos, but my sister, she's like 5 years older than me. And she used to love every weekend to go to the skating rink when we were younger. She would her and her friends would roll pennies to go to the skating rink. And I never really cared about skating. Rollerblading and all that stuff, it just never really appealed to me. But every once in a while I would tag along because they had a great arcade selection. They had Street Fighter 2, they had different pinball machines, Hammering Harry, they had the biggest and newest arcade cabinets that came out that time. And I remember this one Friday I went there and all these kids were just stuck around this cabinet like Velcro. So of course I wondered what they were playing, so I walked over there and it was the Mortal Kombat arcade cabinet.
And what can I say about this game other than it changed my life? It was like hearing the Beatles for the first time. I had already played my share of Street Fighter 2 and Samurai Showdown, but Mortal Kombat had something different. And I have to say my favorite character was and always will be Scorpion.
In that moment I knew I had to have this game, I really loved Street Fighter 2, but I was really starting to like Mortal Kombat, and I remember my sister liked Mortal Kombat as well. So we talked to my grandpa, which my grandpa's freaking awesome. He was the guy that bought me my first Nintendo. He's the one that got me my Super Nintendo. We told him, we only had one game at the time. It was like Super Mario World. And we were just like, man, we really want Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat. So he got us for Christmas, and we got to open it up on Christmas Eve. I got Street Fighter 2, and my sister got Mortal Kombat. Let me rephrase this. My sister got Mortal Kombat, but I played a lot more than she did. But it was great. I finally had this game in the arcade cabinet, and that was the game to have back then. I remember going to school and telling my friends, oh, I got Mortal Kombat for Christmas, and they're like, what? But I really think Mortal Kombat really did that wedge with the console war, because some of my friends that had Mortal Kombat, they had on the Genesis, they told me some things that I didn't realize that was different from the Super Nintendo version. For one, the Super Nintendo version took out the blood. There was no more blood. And they redid the finishing moves. And what I want to do is show you guys a clip of Johnny Cage. He had one finishing move that was on the Super Nintendo that wasn't as cool as the one on the Sega Genesis. That's a lot more familiar with its arcade counterpart. I do remember when I had Mortal Kombat, I remember the day I got it, I actually found out that they were coming out with Mortal Kombat 2.
Mortal Kombat 2 was my favorite in the series. It had more fighters to choose from. It was just bigger and better. It was also the first arcade cabinet that featured the Williams DCS sound system that really gave it that God of Thunder booming bass.
I freaking love this game. This is my favorite in the series. I got Mortal Kombat 2 for the Sega Genesis. I got it for the Sega Saturn. And also the 32X. I had it on the Super Nintendo when I first got it, when I rented it at the time. And I just remember it was just so much more violent. It was so much more darker. But my biggest memory of Mortal Kombat 2 was playing the arcade, and this is a great story. I used to go to Boys and Girls Club when I was a kid. My mom would work and drop me off, and that's where I would spend my day. I would spend anywhere from 6 to 8 hours a day. And we would do stuff like play basketball, shoot pool, play ping pong, stuff like that. And they used to have a weightlifting room that for some reason they didn't use anymore. Something happened to the weights. I guess I don't know what happened to that little exercise center, but they decided to turn it into an arcade. Now they got 3 arcade cabinets at that time. They got Super Hang-On, Toki, and Mortal Kombat 2. And I remember me and my friends feeling like they were bringing in like the promised land. We were so happy about this, and after a while playing basketball, playing ping pong, going swimming, just wasn't as cool as playing the arcade of Mortal Kombat 2. It got so bad that kids just weren't going outside anymore. We were just putting our quarters on the machine and playing. And people were starting to gamble. We were starting to like gamble sodas, and we had our own tournaments. It was getting so bad that unfortunately they took out the arcade cabinets. But that was still a great summer and still a memory I'll hold to this day.
It wasn't long until gamers' bloodthirst craved for another Mortal Kombat, so we got Mortal Kombat 3, and it had some new features like combos, a run button, more finishing moves like turning in the animals. But speaking of animals, one boss in this game that I really couldn't stand was our centaur fiend, Motaro.
Mortal Kombat 3. Now, Mortal Kombat 3, I have mixed feelings about it. Was it better than Mortal Kombat 2? I honestly didn't think so, even back then. But I remember the first time I heard of Mortal Kombat 3, I was in a grocery store. And you guys, I know you guys used to do this, when your moms would be shopping or dads would be shopping, you'd go to the book section to read video game magazines. I was reading an issue of GamePro, and at this time I was a huge Mortal Kombat fan. I had the G.I. Joe toys, I went and saw the movies, I had some of the comic books. I was a Mortal Kombat maniac, and I see that they're coming out with Mortal Kombat 3. My jaw dropped, I couldn't believe it. You could play as Shiva, Shogun, the same race as Goro and Kataro. I was like, oh man, you can actually play as one of those 4-armed people. This is freaking awesome. But what I didn't like about the original Mortal Kombat 3 is they took out Scorpion. They didn't have Scorpion. They replaced Scorpion with Cyrax and Sector, and I'm just like, alright, I thought Cyrax was Scorpion at the time. I'm like, oh, well maybe he's just like a ghost in the machine now, this is kind of cool. But no, he was a completely different character. And so I was kind of turned off about that. I rented Mortal Kombat 3 and I played it, and it was fun. But Mortal Kombat Ultimate 3, they did answer my prayers of Scorpion coming back. Scorpion was back in Ultimate 3 and Trilogy. I mean, this was the one Mortal Kombat that had the Street Fighter syndrome, where they made 3 or 4 copies of the same game, like different versions. But I have to say, out of all of them, Mortal Kombat Trilogy on the PlayStation is a definite must-play. But anyway, guys, this concludes part 1 of my Mortal Kombat memories. I have so many more to go through, so this is going to be a 2-parter video. So stay tuned for part 2 when I talk about Mortal Kombat 4 and on to the newer releases. Thanks for watching, guys, and thank you for subscribing, and as always, happy gaming.